Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gamer Reviewing Books Badly. This is the Middle Management Gamer, and today's episode is DUMA KEY by Stephen King. This happens to be one of my most favorite books, and I've been really looking forward to doing a review on it. I hope you'll enjoy it as well. Sit back, relax. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. Alright, welcome. So, also we'll be playing Season 1 of Diablo 4. That dropped today. I haven't got a chance to start it. So whilst we're reviewing DUMA KEY, that's what I'll be playing in the background. And my co-host today is Brownie. She's super excited to be here. Say hello to everybody, Brownie. No? Okay. Don't have any food for you. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so first and foremost, like I said, DUMA KEY is one of my most favorite novels. I've read it probably about 12 times. I've listened to the audiobook numerous times. I made my wife sit through it. She really enjoys it. That being said, it's a tough book. It's tough for many reasons. It deals with a lot of issues. It deals with loss in several senses. Physical loss, emotional loss. It also deals with growth and renewal. And the book itself is just, it can be an emotional gut punch. You come to really care about a lot of the characters and what they're dealing with. And it can be tough for some people. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief synopsis of what's going on. So basically, you got the lead character. His name is Fremantle, Edgar Fremantle, and he owns a giant construction company and is fairly well-to-do, makes a good amount of money. And then one day, he is in an accident on a job site. A link-belt truck backs into his truck. It's not a truck, it's like a massive crane. And it does major damage to his head and causes him to lose an arm. And because of this, he ends up in the hospital. And he loses some of his mental facilities, and he has to go through some medical rehab for that. And he also has to go through physical rehab because he completely loses an arm and loses the ability to use that arm. And through the process of dealing with this, Edgar basically changes and becomes a different person. And this causes him to lose his wife. Because the person he becomes, she says, isn't the person that she married. A variety of other things. So this is kind of like the jumping off point. This is where we meet Edgar. He's coming to grips with the loss of his wife. And his daughter's off at college. She's kind of, stuck in between them. So it deals with her loss of basically her father and her mother as a single unit. So that's loss. For the wife who, off the top of my head, I can't remember her name. I'm drawing a blank. But she isn't a major character. She shows up several times throughout it. But again, I don't want to be too much of a spoiler, but the daughter, as I was saying, her name is Isabel Fremantle. If so, girl, that's her email address. It pops up a lot. One of those little things that really kind of, makes you happy when you read it. And it's just, I don't know, I just smile whenever I think about it. So basically, Edgar's come to grips with this, and his doctor, Cayman, convinces him that he should go away, basically for a kind of like a trip or a retreat, so he can come to grips with his loss, come to grips with his new life, basically have a rebirth to be a better person, or not necessarily a better person, or just a better version of himself than the person he's become. And before he can do that, he has a situation where uh, his neighbor's dog gets hit by a car. And in the process of trying to console the little girl whose dog it is and deal with the onlookers that are standing around, something kind of supernatural, I'm not going to go into details, but something kind of supernatural happens with his missing arm. And it just kind of sticks with him, and it comes back to it later. So basically, he decides to go on this sabbatical, this away, this leaving, and he goes to the Keys, specifically DUMA Key, which isn't a real place. I think that, and I might be wrong about this, but I think when Stephen King was in recovery from his major car accident, he got himself a home in the Keys. So kind of where he came up with the idea of writing this one. But anyway, he ends up staying in this house called Salmon Point, or Big Pink as he calls it. And years ago, Salvador Dali stayed there, the artist. And down at the end of the road is some more big houses. His leg is also messed up, so he has to walk with a cane. So part of his physical therapy is walking up and down the beach. So he starts to walk up and down the beach, and he takes a few steps each day, and he's got this like mathematical equation in his head that he uses to decide how many steps he's going to do. So basically, he gets closer and closer to these chairs that he sees at the end of the beach. Well, not at the end of the beach, but at the next house down. And there's a gentleman and a lady sitting there. And as he gets closer and closer, he starts to interact with them. And I guess he starts to look forward to meeting these people. And this ends up being Wireman, who is the caretaker for Miss Eastlake, who basically owns like all this property and rents out the houses. And she actually owns the house that Edgar is staying at. Edgar starts to do some artwork, and all of a sudden it turns out that he's like a savant for doing art. And the art gets better and better, and he starts interacting with basically Wireman, and they become really good friends. And Miss Eastlake, and he starts to help out. Wireman's got his own issues, like he bleeds from the eyes periodically, which leads Edgar to realize that something's majorly wrong with him. So that's a storyline that I'm not really going to get into now. At some point, I'm going to just like say, hey, spoilers moving forward here, and if you haven't read it yet, you don't want any of those spoilers, then you can just cut the video at that point. So basically, he starts to become artist. His daughter comes and visits and convinces him to take his art, show it to somebody, and basically they want to show his art. And throughout all this art process, he starts to have weird things happening, like weird footprints in the house, and he starts to like see things in his art. It's like he can tell the future with his art, and then like he can make things happen with his art. And he starts to see like this vessel in his art that's kind of getting closer. But he starts to find out things about Wireman. He starts to find out things about Miss Eastlake, and like basically this haunting and this history that surrounds the island. And he gets pulled into it, and they have like this epic battle with this supernatural creature that is basically using him to reintegrate itself into life. So that's basically kind of the whole synopsis of what's going on in the book. Again, the characters are really well done. You'll fall in love with every character. Miss Eastlake, Wireman is especially great character. It's one of those books that I've always looked forward to them basically putting out as a movie. Again, it's one of those ones that you could see your favorite actor doing all these different roles and just really enjoying it. In addition to the character development, the plot is really gripping. I mean, you get like some of the story for Edgar, and sometimes he gives you like backstory, like memories that kind of tells, you know, why him and his wife did what they did, why they got divorced, as he's trying to come to grips with his new life and basically just, I guess, become this new person and just survive so he can move forward. You get to learn about Miss Eastlake and her history. She's basically been there just forever. Wireman, his backstory. All these characters kind of have like this sad thing that like happened in their life, and they're all there trying to like just relive. And they just come together. And there's Jack Cantori. He is basically Edgar's caretaker. He's like a college student that makes money by doing grocery runs and stuff like that, taking care of some of the houses nearby, so that, you know, because he's disabled, you know, he can't really do those things for himself, so he pays his kid to do it. And he gets tangled up, and you're kind of like, oh, will he get together with Isabel? And, you know, kind of will he, won't he? You know, she's cute, he's cute, that kind of thing going on. But again, it's what really gets me is like, while you're falling for all these characters and becoming emotionally involved with these characters, even some of the minor characters, like you start to feel for them, you want to see them succeed, you worry about them, and Stephen King has this way of taking advantage of you and kicking you when you're down. So I definitely suggest reading this book. I want to do a little bit kind of an analysis of the book at this point. So I'm going to start talking about things that are spoilers. So if you've already read it, great, follow me along. If you don't really care about spoilers and you're interested in the book and want to hear some of my thoughts on it, or you're reading it currently, I'll try not to give away major plot points, but I'm going to talk about things that's definitely like spoilers, just spoilers. And some of it's just fan theories on my part. So one of the things that's really interesting is, again, like rebirth and the entities that are present on the island. So the main villain of this particular story is Percy, and she is basically like a undead goddess, and she grants powers to creative people. So these people end up in like accidents, or they get injured, and they are weak in their minds, or they become open. So she gives them creativity, and she feeds off their creativity to create horrors and basically bring about destruction. She kind of gives them the ability to, through their art, first through Miss Eastlake has when she's young, she's in a major accident, and she takes a head injury, and she becomes an artist, and she creates a hurricane that, I guess, does a lot of damage, and basically it grants Percy the power, Persephone, curse, depending on, you know, what you want to call her. So she uses these people, she feeds off their creativity. So that kind of leads me to several other Stephen King works, entities that feed off of emotions or abilities. You got Pennywise the Clown, who feeds off the fear of children. You have Ardelia Lortz in The Library Policeman. She also kind of feeds off of fear of children at some point, but also she feeds off of the sexual energy of one character. She's almost kind of like a succubus. There's a evil entity in one of the later books of the Gunslinger series that basically makes you laugh to the point where it's dangerous to you, and that entity feeds off of laughter to the point of pain. So, and not Stephen King, but also like people have tied Pennywise to Mary Poppins. She feeds off the happy energy of her charges. So that one's a freebie right there, kind of weird. But that's one of the cool segues, one of the cool interesting things about the story. But I was talking about loss, and each one of the main characters basically at some point lost something major. Edgar, he loses his arm, he loses his wife. His wife obviously loses him, loses a part of herself, and tries to remake herself. We'll get to that in a second. You have Miss Eastlake, who at one point in time had a major head injury and she lost her ability to speak. And you have Wireman, who lost his wife and basically tried to off himself. So that caused him to lose his job or quit his job. And he came to be a caretaker. He was a lawyer, and he came to be a caretaker for Miss Eastlake. Jack Cantori, he doesn't really have anything that he's lost. He's just kind of along for the ride. It's a big help. And you have Isabel, who, again, she lost her parents' marriage. That can majorly impact people. So that ties in with the law, ties in with rebirth. So Edgar was this construction architect type guy, and yeah, he had art to a certain degree. I mean, he had to create the drawings and the designs for the things he was building, but he reinvents himself. He is reborn as an artist. Miss Eastlake, at one point, she was a kid, she became this savant artist. She was a rich kid, but she became this savant artist, and then later she reinvents herself again after the whole events with Percy in her childhood. She stops doing art because she realizes the danger behind it. She becomes this patron to the art. She supports the art. So, again, Wireman lost his wife and thereby tried to kill himself and was reborn as his caretaker. And that's part of his gift. He's able to help Miss Eastlake through, her. She's got Alzheimer's. She's senile a little bit. She's not quite with it, so he's able to help her. And then there's another sense of rebirth. Percy, Persephone, is the queen of the underworld. So, I don't know how much that ties in with the mythos. I mean, when you read the book, it doesn't really go that much into detail, but that's kind of where it seems like it's taken from. She actually brings the people that she's killed back to life, those that were drowned. Anybody that's kind of been drowned, she has control over, domain over. So she has these people, they're reborn as nautical zombies, and they come and do her bidding. So it's just, like I said, a really interesting story. I definitely suggest everyone read it. So the themes of, loss and rebirth and growth and becoming like a new person. How you deal with losing a major part of yourself, like your arm. The perils, the amount of strain that rehab from a major accident or a major accident or anything that would require rehab, the stress and the strain that puts on people's marriage, families, the actual mental strain of people. I felt like when he wrote this, he was really writing from not just his brain but his heart. And that's the thing about Stephen King. He has this ability to affect you and make you feel how he wants you to feel. And you'll love the characters. You'll laugh along with them. You'll love what they love. You'll feel their emotion and pain. So, DUMA KEY, great book. Can't tell you enough. I haven't read it in probably a year, and I think we listened to it. It was about a year ago. Me and the wife were on vacation, Mismanagement Gamer, and we listened to it, and she really liked it too. Again, I suggest it. I think I might listen to it again because now that I've talked about it, I've reinvested my love into it. So, don't take my word for it. Go read it yourself. Tell me what you think in the comments if you've already read it. Tell me what type of theories you have on the the background, the themes, the running things that are going on. I like to dissect this book, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So, hit me up. Just a chat. Your biggest fan. This is Stan. Anyway, y'all take it easy. Have a good one. Up, Brown Brown.